What's up, Nerfers? Today I'm excited to be testing a brand new innovative form of Nerf rifling from a fellow Australian. This is High Velocity Foam's fully personalised BCAR. When you place an order for one of these, you can fully customise it. You can choose how many bearings you want, ranging from 16 all the way up to 36, like this bad boy right here. You can also choose the angle of those bearings, ranging from 8 degrees for a low FPS build, like 150 FPS for example, all the way down to 3.5 degrees for those impressive 350 FPS plus builds. Now you can choose to either get the digital files and print it yourself. You can just print the plastic parts yourself and get a hardware kit, or you can buy the complete thing already assembled. The HVF BCAR is designed to attach to 16mm barrels using a threaded locking collar. It has a very nice honeycomb pattern on the threaded locking nut, making it very easy to grip and tighten. Although very importantly for a 3D printed option, you don't have to over tighten this thing at all, even on worker barrels which can have inconsistent diameters. On this Sabre barrel I'm using right now, I've just very gently hand tightened that and it's holding on there perfectly fine. So no risk of breaking it by over tightening. Now, being a prescribed rifling option, HVF asked me which blaster I'll actually be using it on, and I told them I'm going to use it on my Sabre Ultima. So this has been custom made to suit specifically this blaster. This thing's shooting at 300 feet per second, so we've gone with 36 bearings and a 4-degree angle. If I put a stronger spring in here and we're shooting over 350, I would go with the 3.5 degree. Generally, you want to go with a narrower degree angle, the higher your FPS goes. But there's a handy little drop-down menu on the Etsy page telling you which FPS suits which degrees. In addition to 36 bearings, this also has very open porting around the base of it, allowing excess muzzle blast to vent out of there and stop disturbing your accuracy. When you order this, you can choose between PET G or PLA materials, and it also comes in a very neat protective case. It fully surrounds the BCAR and threads together, giving it something to protect it while transporting it to games, or if you are buying this from Australia, shipping it internationally, this is going to protect it and make sure it arrives in one piece. Now, before I get on with the testing, can we just acknowledge that 36 bearings is a lot? The Akasha, for example, the best Nerf rifling currently on the market that I'll be comparing it against, only has half that. Although Akasha does have internal rifling as well, which makes it a different category of rifling, which we call a super BCAR, whereas this here is just bearings, so I'm calling it a BCAR today. Let's get on with some testing. Okay guys, the first test I'm doing today is velocity. We're gonna see which of these slows the darts by more. The Akasha only has half the number of bearings, but it does have rifling inside. And this obviously has 36 bearings that the dart's going through. So I don't know which one's gonna be slower, which one's gonna be faster. We'll do Akasha first, and then the HVF second. The darts I'm using are Sabre 1.3 gram tournament darts. They're the darts I use for all of my gameplay and testing because they are the best ones on the market. I'm also using ZWQ magazines because they have a drum spring that runs down from the top there and unwinds as it goes. It puts less squish on the darts, hopefully resulting in more consistent velocities over the chrono. So first up we have the Akasha. 307. 301, 301, 306, 301, 300, 305, 301, 300, 302, 305, 303, 300, 305, 302, that's all 15, incredibly consistent from the Akasha. Let's see whether the HVF shoots lower or even potentially more consistently. I do think with the venting, it is going to be very consistent as well, but that's just my guess. Here goes High Velocity Foam's BCAR with everything else remaining the same. 310, 307, 307, 313, 302, 314, 312, 314, 307, 311, 310, 307, 306, 306, 310. That's all 15. Averaging a little higher FPS, only a tiny bit though. I'd say that is because we're shooting through bearings and no physical plastic rifling. Physical plastic rifling does tend to have more friction on the darts than bearings do. Over the chrono, Akasha shot an average of 302 feet per second with a very consistent standard deviation of 2.3. High Velocity Foam's custom BCAR averaged 7 FPS higher at 309 with a still good but not quite as good standard deviation of 3.4. For velocity, Akasha is 2% slower than HVF, but the big difference comes in that standard deviation. Akasha was 32% more consistent than HVF. So keep that in mind as we move on to the accuracy test. Okay, 30-meter accuracy test, or 100 feet for my American viewers who still cling to the Imperial system. Doing the Akasha first and then the HVF after. Today I'm trying out a new sight which was sent to me thanks to Novrich. It's a 1 to 6 times power. I've got it set at 4 times. Should give me a little bit of a better idea of where I'm aiming on the target. And then you guys can verify that with my run cam that I am aiming at the exact same spot each time. 1.3 gram saber darts in ZWQ magazines. Links to all of that will be found down below. Here goes. And I did take the time to zero this sight just before as well. Does take a little longer for me to aim when zoomed in this far compared to a red dot sight. But they should be more precise shots. And we've got the last one. Beautiful. That is all of our Akasha grouping. Let's take this off of here. The Akasha does go on a little tighter to the barrel than the HVF. I mean, like, it's harder to actually pull the Akasha off after you're done. The HVF definitely holds on there tight enough that it won't come off. It doesn't take as much effort to actually remove when you're done either. Everything else has remained the same darts, same magazines. All we've just changed now is the rifling. And I'm going to stay aiming at the exact same spot as well. The shots are going a little bit higher on the target now. Interesting. It's like it's adding a little bit of hop up or something. It's like pointing up maybe. So I doubt 10 FPS is going to make that big of a difference. That dart whirly birded a little bit over to the left of the target. It's okay, when I do the results later, might look at discounting a couple of outliers. Definitely consistently shooting a higher up on the target. I do wonder if somehow the threads aren't quite straight on this BCAR and it's angling it up slightly. That's just kind of bizarre actually. And that's all 15 shots. Aside from the one that went over to the left, it was a pretty good grouping from what I could see. Let's take it inside and compare the two. From a distance of 30 meters away or 100 feet, Akasha shot a 13 centimeter spread, while HVF shot a 40 centimeter spread. I did mention I'd see what I could do about the outliers though, so I'll grey out HVF's worst shot. What we're left with now is an 18 centimeter spread from HVF, which is incredibly good. If I had tested this a couple of months ago, I think it would have actually been the most accurate Nerf rifling I've ever used. It was designed to go toe-to-toe with the old Sabre BCAR, while only costing 31 Australian dollars. Even less if you buy the files and print it yourself. While Akasha did beat it, we're comparing 13 centimeters against 18 centimeters. Both are amazing spreads. For accuracy, Akasha's spread was 27% smaller. As for HVF shooting higher on the target, on closer inspection it definitely does have an upwards tilt to it, and it's just by chance that I got it in the upwards position, because I did have a 75% chance of mounting it left, right, or down instead. When I got it home, I tried it on a few other barrels such as Kuriaka and Worker, and it did have the same on those. But what I did notice was the upwards tilt was positioned exactly where the HVF logo is. So it's definitely possible to intentionally align it to give you deliberate arc to your shots, which could actually be beneficial if your sight won't adjust low enough. Whether that was intentional or just a printing error with mine, it's definitely a cool side effect that I'd never thought of before. Find High Velocity Foam's Etsy page at the link down below if you want to try this for yourself. I'll also have links to everything else I used in today's video, such as Akasha, Sabre Darts, ZWQ magazines, and the blaster itself. On that blaster itself, here's a short clip answering a comment I've seen a couple of times now. Now, I just want to address a couple of comments I've had of why don't you use a more realistic blaster that the average person would have. I just want to point out that the blaster is just a means of pushing air out of the barrel. If you have any other blaster that shoots the same FPS as this, so a Worker Harrier or Pretty much any blaster I've reviewed in the last 5 years can do 300 FPS. If you stick this Akasha on the end of it, you're going to get similar kind of accuracy as long as your barrel is optimized for the air volume. But to address those people, I have got an absolute piece of shit blaster that I'm going to extend the barrel on and try the Akasha on in the coming month. So stay tuned for that. I think it is only $30 for the Siren Mauler these days. It is such an unpopular blaster that it's been heavily discounted. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. Here's 2 other videos you might enjoy. And as always, thank you very much for watching. See ya.